Every day, there's a total of 13,333 games of Fortnite played across the world.
Fortnite World Champion!
But on Saturday, September 16th, 2017 at 2:53 a.m., this match had one of the most important bugs in video game history. You see, back in 2017, Fortnite had reached an insane level of popularity. Everyone was playing it, even Drake.
I need the max win.
But not everyone was able to play together.
What?
You see, at the time, Fortnite technically allowed PC players to play with other console players, which to be fair sounds a lot more fun than it actually is.
Oh my god!
However, since Sony's PlayStation 4 was completely dominating the console market,
Get this, PlayStation 4 was the biggest best-selling console of August, outselling Xbox One and Wii U according to Sony.
they actually forbid crossplay with Xbox players entirely, meaning players could only game with other players who use the same console.
Yoshida believes Sony's stance on limiting crossplay for certain games is better for competition.
But the creator of Fortnite, Epic Games, was not a fan of this. So in one of the wildest moves I've ever seen, they dropped a bug overnight that changes everything. Now this Fortnite bug may be one of my favorite stories of all time. I mean seriously, just thinking about it gets me hyped. But here's the thing, not a lot of people actually know why this moment is such a huge deal. So today, I'm going to show you exactly how a Fortnite bug made video game history. And it all starts with something called crossplay. Which leads us to our first major question, which will undoubtedly cut me off due to audience retention. Well, it's real simple. Crossplay is the ability to play with other people using other types of video game hardware. We're talking PCs, consoles, or even phones. And when it comes to crossplay, there's really only two things that you need to know. But I think it's better if I just show you. You see, we all have phones, and no matter what type of phone you have, we each get a unique 10-digit phone number. Except video games don't work the same way. Now, on a technical level, it's clearly possible. I mean, heck, crossplay is something most games use today.
He says he will give each of you $250 cash app if you leave us alone.
Okay, deal.
But it's a little bit more complicated than how phones would handle it. You see, where we all have phone numbers, consoles have something known as a gamer tag. Basically a unique name that's specific to each gaming device. For example, on Steam, you could have "Is the Steam Deck worth it?" asking for a friend. On Xbox, you could go under the name "Let's just put everything we own on PlayStation _420." And on PlayStation, you could be "Dear God, Sony, just bring back Ape Escape for the love of God, please." Although, if I'm being honest, PlayStation doesn't let you use spaces, so that last one's probably not working. But here's the real problem. You see, the only thing these gaming consoles actually care about is their own ecosystems.
Play the greatest games lineup in Xbox history.
So in an Xbox ecosystem, Xbox players could only play with Xbox players, and on PlayStation, the same rules apply. Because of this, players can technically use gamer tags that are already taken on other devices. For example, on the Xbox, I'm known as Zenkai Goose, but on PlayStation, some rat beat me to the punch, forcing me to use the Zenkai Goose. And Rat Boy, if you're listening like we all know that you are, I will find you. Now, before 2017, this is just how video games worked. Crossplay wasn't really a thing. But when we compare this to phones, the problem starts becoming sort of embarrassing. First off, my phone number is unique, which means I'm the only one in the world who can have it despite the type of device that you own. Sucks to be you, Rat Boy. And second, it doesn't really matter what phone you do have, so long as you have a phone number, we can always call each other and have rich and rewarding conversations. Like those I have with my mom. Watch.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your call again.
The point is, phones just work right out of the gate, and video games, not exactly. Except here's where things start to get interesting. Because in 2001, some game developers decide to just solve the problem entirely. See, on paper, any video game console with a connection to the internet has everything it needs to communicate with any other device connected to the internet. Meaning, in theory, any game could technically make crossplay a thing. The world just needed someone to actually make that game. And mostly, thanks to developers in Japan, they did. Because surprisingly, Capcom drops Capcom vs. SNK as the first official game to support crossplay, by allowing PlayStation 2 players to play with Dreamcast players. But they weren't the only ones. There was Quake 3 Arena, Phantasy Star Online, and Final Fantasy XI, which each had their own crossplay implementations. So it turned out that crossplay was completely possible. But if that was true, then why was it missing for so many years? Well, around the same time, video games started going global.
One of the most eagerly awaited video games finally goes on sale.
This never-ending computer game is played by millions around the globe.
Biggest retail launch in entertainment history.
Online gaming was exploding in popularity with massive games like Counter-Strike, Halo 2, Battlefield, and even MMOs like World of Warcraft that were now going mainstream.
Okay, can you add Eyes of the Beast to your hotbar?
Except the more popular that these games got, the more players expected the exact same experience across every single game. So things like usernames, friends lists, party systems, game invites, clans, status updates, messaging, basically everything that we take for granted today was all expected to be there, causing every game to solve the same set of problems. Now, as you can imagine, this was incredibly annoying. It took time that would otherwise go into developing the game to solve problems that had already been solved a million times.
You're just an anonymous nobody unless we build ways for you to create an identity for yourself there.
At the same time, Microsoft and Sony are off to the side gearing up to launch their next generation consoles, the Xbox 360 and PS3. But these guys were different to the ones that came before, because these consoles ushered gaming into the online era.
And despite the weather, they say it's worth the overnight wait.
You see, Microsoft and Sony were seeing the pain developers were dealing with when it came to online gaming. And from the conversations that they had, developers seemed frustrated. So they decide to solve as many of these problems as they possibly could. Suddenly, usernames, friends lists, party systems, achievements, digital storefronts, and messaging became a system-level feature. And for the most part, they were awesome.
Right, I'll tell you what, you fat little
Everything was now baked directly into the consoles right out the box, so developers could finally just get back to making great games. That is, everything except for crossplay, which mysteriously seemed to disappear. Now, technically crossplay was still possible. In fact, some games even tried making it their main selling point.
Shadowrun links Xbox 360 and Windows Vista players together for the first time.
You guys remember Shadowrun? But console-to-console crossplay? Yeah, that seemed to stop entirely. And when we dig deeper, we can see why. You see, crossplay was already a complex problem, but with Microsoft and Sony each building their own online infrastructures,
we built a flexible architecture with some high-level goals and premises around how should we make architectural trade-offs.
The complexity doubled overnight, meaning instead of just making games talk to each other, developers had to juggle both consoles' online ecosystems.
If we are able to really pull off the engine and Xbox Live and the social community, it's going to destroy everything else that's out there.
See, in the last generation, developers could focus on simpler games with local multiplayer where friends shared a small CRT TV.
Watch your back, watch your back, watch your back.
But now, they had to support online multiplayer for millions of players playing on massive high-definition televisions. Basically, games were already insanely complicated and crossplay wasn't making it any easier. Except, the more I dug deeper, the more I realized there was a lot more to this story. Because it turned out that the real problem came from
Console war.
The console war.
The console war.
The console war.
Console war.
Console war.
The console war.
Yep, I hear the console war brewing.
That's right, the console war. a made-up term by people with an obsession for RGB lights to describe the ongoing corporate battle of who can sell the most video game consoles. And while labeling a war is incredibly dramatic, this tribal back and forth technically happens everywhere competition finds itself. You see, with phones, you have Apple versus Google, with soda, Pepsi versus Coke, and here in Canada, well, technically we don't have that problem due to the government-protected oligopoly stifling competition, bringing the price of everything Canadians need through the frickin' roof. I literally bought a pack of gum for $7 yesterday. Dear God, someone help us, our country's on fire. But when it comes to video game competition, there's really only the big three: Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. And back when this console war was at its peak, video games had never been better. See, the reason that the 7th generation is looked back so fondly is that those three companies looked at the same problems and were insanely competitive.
To redefine what it means to have fun.
Microsoft would focus on an online ecosystem to play with friends any way that you wanted.
When you are done as a group playing together, the first thing you want to do is talk about it.
Sony would focus on high-quality cinematic single-player experiences not found anywhere else.
Okay.
And Nintendo focused primarily on gameplay anyone and everyone could enjoy somewhat safely from the comfort of their own room. Seriously, back in the 7th generation when these guys actually competed, us players were eating good. We didn't just get games, we got revolutionary pieces of entertainment that consistently pushed the industry forward.
I am your shield. You can walk all the way to the top of that mountain.
Remember, no rushing.
I am your sword.
Except for the very first time in console history, Microsoft was starting to win the console war.
The Xbox 360 is off to the fastest start in console history.
You see, during the 7th generation, Microsoft's Xbox 360 was dominating the market with exclusive games like Halo 3, Gears of War, Fable, and of course their revolutionary Xbox Live ecosystem.
Every single person who watches your videos are fucking stupid. They're fucking ignorant little...
Suddenly, people who might have been loyal to Nintendo or PlayStation were now starting to migrate over to Xbox, causing the power dynamic to shift completely. With Xbox on top, Microsoft had no intention on letting their competitors catch back up. They were going to do anything they could think of to not only get more ahead, but weaken their competition entirely. So, popular games like Call of Duty, which were playable on every console, now had their new downloadable content locked as an Xbox exclusive, meaning players who played the same game on PlayStation or Nintendo would technically get less content for the same price. Then came timed exclusives, where Microsoft would use their vast infinite wealth to secure huge deals with games like Grand Theft Auto, Oblivion, and Mass Effect to play first and better on Xbox.
Microsoft and Rockstar Games have entered into a strategic partnership to provide exclusive episodic content via Xbox Live.
You see, Microsoft wasn't messing around. They were going to win no matter the cost. Now cut back to crossplay and we have a bit of a problem. You see, from a player perspective, crossplay meant you could play with any of your friends no matter the console that they used. This is obviously a no-brainer and quite frankly an amazing thing to have. But from a business perspective, it meant that Microsoft was going to be giving their competitors access to their players. So, as far as Microsoft was concerned, that was going to be a big no-no. You see, if players wanted the definitive multiplayer experience, it was going to be on their system and no one else's, which meant crossplay was never coming back.
At the end of next month, we'll have sold over 5 million Xbox 360 consoles.
And the only way it could theoretically ever return is if Microsoft somehow completely destroyed their reputation. But the Xbox 360 was literally dominating the 7th generation.
That's more than the original Xbox, the PS1, the PS2, or any other console before it at this point in their life cycles.
So there was no way Microsoft was ever gonna mess that up.
Now I'd like to introduce for you another amazing thing you can do on your Xbox. Skype. Skype on Xbox One connects you to family and friends in ways you aren't going to find on other TVs.
Microsoft, Why?
Xbox, answer call. Hey DJ, thank you for calling in to help me show off Skype in Snap mode.
Okay, so in what may be the wildest 180 in gaming history, Xbox enters the new 8th generation with a console that's basically the complete opposite of what everyone actually wants. And I'm not even trying to add fuel to the fire here, it really was that bad. You see, they named the new console the Xbox One, despite it being the third Xbox. It was now always online, meaning you needed internet to play games that normally could be played offline. It focused entirely on TV instead of, you know, video games.
Yeah. Skype in call.
It integrates a camera that not only watches and listens to your every move, but brings the price of the Xbox One to $100 more than its competitors. And as if it couldn't get any worse, they made video games, which were already incredibly expensive, now impossible to share. So, yeah, players were a little taken aback, but rest assured, Microsoft leadership was ready with a response for their loyal customers.
Fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Right. So stick with 360. That's your message if you don't,
like it.
That's probably not the right thing to say, Don. Now keep in mind, for the past 8 years, Xbox had been doing everything it could to make sure both Sony and PlayStation players were absolutely miserable.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
So when Microsoft announced that sharing games was no longer possible, Sony was quick to respond.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
Thanks.
You know, that hurt. Now, given Sony focused entirely on making their properly named fourth console, the PlayStation 4, an actual gaming device, it was no surprise Sony found itself suddenly winning the console war.
Today, we'll show how games are taking advantage of PS4's powerful technology to create, indeed, the best place to play.
In fact, now that Microsoft was no longer in said lead, it looked like gamers could get crossplay back since it was no longer held hostage through weird corporate greed. At least, that's what we thought would happen. You see, since Microsoft decided to step on every single rake imaginable, Sony decides that it's the perfect time to get what experts call revenge.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Now every single dirty trick Microsoft used in the 7th generation was about to be returned in spades.
Play map packs first on PS4.
Except unlike Microsoft, Sony seemed to also be able to make great exclusive games year after year.
You are everything I wanted to be!
Causing everyone who originally migrated to the Xbox 360 to just migrate right back to the PlayStation 4. It turns out that people who like video games just want a box that plays video games. Mind-blowing, I know. You see, in the 8th generation, Sony made it crystal clear. PlayStation was the captain now.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
And as you can imagine, the idea of letting Xbox players play with the more popular PlayStation players, well, it didn't necessarily spark joy. So for Sony, crossplay was not only dead, it was now, quote, physically impossible.
Yoshida believes Sony's stance on limiting crossplay for certain games is better for competition.
And with the PlayStation 4 dominating year after year after year.
Sony has revealed PlayStation 4 console sales numbers passed the 22.3 million mark at the end of March.
Yeah, that wasn't changing anytime soon. Except, in 2017, a new type of game starts exploding in popularity.
Hey.
Battle Royale.
Yeah, let's see how you do under pressure. Oh. Yeah, I've been wanting this forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better.
The idea is simple. 100 players drop on an island, but only one can survive.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Shortly after, a new Battle Royale takes over the world.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is a gamer turned developer who designed this game together with a passionate community.
And it's no mystery why. Battle Royales were easy to understand, easy to watch, and best of all, they created a tension nobody had ever experienced before. And because PUBG became so successful so fast, every company in the gaming industry started doing whatever they could to shamelessly copy it.
Write that down, write that down!
In fact, one of the first companies to try was none other than Epic Games. You see, Epic's core business comes from their in-house game engine, the Unreal Engine, which means when they make a great game, it acts as the perfect advertisement for the engine.
Like you see with this cube of meat we built here.
But after disrupting the video game industry with the critically acclaimed Gears of War franchise, Epic CEO Tim Sweeney decided they should showcase the latest version of their game engine with something fresh. So they ditched the gritty Gears look and based their next game off of Minecraft instead. Now, while copying no doubt seems to be a troubling trend for the company, they quickly learn copying something as popular as Minecraft isn't as easy as they thought.
Yeah, it's got everything. Garbage, rats, severe structural damage.
Because development takes 7 years to complete and a boatload of money. But when their Minecraft clone officially releases as Fortnite Saved the World on July 21st, 2017, it actually flops. Hard.
It's confusing. Yes. In a way that it shouldn't be for a game that, like, at its core seems like a very simple, easy to understand thing.
Yeah. With a lot of promise.
So yeah, things weren't exactly looking good for Sydney Sweeney's dad.
How do you know this?
I mean, sure, his daughter would lead in the greatest Spider-Man movies to ever exist.
I can see better than I ever have.
But it turned out that the type of player that wanted a simple crafting game with survival mechanics would, you know, they'd just play Minecraft. So Epic decides it's time for a pivot. You see, they believed that the future of video games was a live service, which is basically an always online experience that's meant to evolve with player feedback. And with PUBG dominating the market, slapping a Battle Royale felt like a no-brainer. But after the lessons they literally just learned from Minecraft, they couldn't just copy another game, could they? But first, I want to talk about this video's sponsor. We don't have one. You see, for 3 years, my goal has been to make gaming videos that you can be proud to share.
Look at this. That's a taut little ball, okay?
Cut to this year, and I feel like I'm starting to get a hang of this whole YouTube thing, and I loved every second of it. So if you want to help me make even better videos in the future, then become a channel member today for just $5 Canadian, which thanks to inflation in my country, may as well be free. Enjoy! Oh, and because you guys literally leave the best comments I've ever seen on this platform, seriously, your comments freaking ka-check. I've included custom emotes, badges, and a link to my private Discord where you can get early access to my content weeks before anyone else. Which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comments. And the camera's dead. I'll just kill myself. Also, there's a food channel, which is quite literally my favorite thing ever. Some of these guys are freaking Gordon Ramsay out here. Okay, that's it. Rizmaster Goose, signing off. Well, it turns out, yes, they very much could, and that's pretty much exactly what they did. Because literally 2 months after Fortnite releases, the insanely sleep-deprived team at Epic not only adds a Battle Royale, but they also make the game the hottest thing on the planet. Because everyone and their dog starts playing it. We're talking rappers, athletes, cosplayers, and heck, even the Stranger Things kids.
I also like to play Fortnite from time to time.
But I know what you're thinking. Wait a second, Mr. Goose Man. What does this have to do with crossplay? What's with all this Fortnite malarkey? Well, you see, Sydney Sweeney's dad didn't just have the best jeans money can buy. I mean, the man's clearly rocking Levis. He's got great taste. He also had newfound power due to Fortnite's insane popularity. And when it comes to using that type of power, Timothy doesn't mess around.
Epic's a unique business, right? We're not just a game maker, we're not just a technology maker. We have to put all of this together and show the world a view of the future that works.
Seriously, this guy has fought Google, Apple, and has made his own store and engine basically free just to make gaming better for the average person. We're talking people like you, me, and even Ratboy. Now go ahead, Ratboy. Make yourself seen in the comments. I dare you. But when Tim realized the only thing stopping players from playing with their best pals from any gaming device from being a thing was just corporate greed, well, Timothy didn't like that very much.
Not one bit.
So just a week before Fortnite's public launch, Epic mysteriously drops a bug into the game. A bug that was almost completely undetectable to the average Fortnite player. In fact, let's look at it one more time running on a PlayStation 4. Did you see it? Let's try it again with a little bit more context. Although, if I'm being honest, PlayStation doesn't let you use spaces, so that last one's probably not working. That's right, the player name you're seeing here literally cannot exist on PlayStation, which meant this player, ZCypher9, wasn't playing on a PlayStation 4. In fact, when players dug deeper, they realized his account actually came from an Xbox. See, what may look like an ordinary game of Fortnite is actually video game history. Because this match is technically the first console-to-console crossplay recorded in almost 20 years. Except it wouldn't stay alive for much longer. Because after I can only imagine was an incredibly awkward and heated phone call.
First, take a big step back and literally your own face!
The bug was magically fixed and crossplay was dead once again. I mean, I've lost count at this point. How many times has crossplay basically died? However, the damage seemed to already be done. You see, the domino pieces had already started falling. Boom. For the first time in ages, a video game was more popular than any one console, causing the power dynamic to shift once again. All of a sudden, Epic was the captain now.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
Which meant Epic can do what they wanted, how they wanted, with whoever they wanted to. Cut to 2018 and Fortnite becomes the first game to officially support crossplay across every device.
According to them, they say, we believe this is the future of games, the same game on all platforms, console quality graphics and action, play when you want, where you want.
But it turned out crossplay had one more big advantage. You see, with more players playing together, Fortnite became a lot more profitable. Like a lot.
So they get you hooked free, and then they start charging you once you're in there, and once you want to do better and advance within the game.
And after developers saw all the money that you can make,
so this is why my son is asking me for my credit card.
Crossplay became a standard real quick, which meant that this little Fortnite bug literally changed the course of video games forever. That's insane. I mean, look, implementing crossplay meant more players, more engagement, more playtime, and naturally in this day and age, more opportunities to sell premium cosmetics. You guys remember when Call of Duty was a war game? Now look, crossplay is a fantastic feature, don't get me wrong.
Where we landing, Stephen A?
But let's be real. It's not like it's ever been essential to the gaming experience.
I'm gonna go with Tilted Towers. You know why?
I mean, sure, playing with your friends online from any device is cool, but it's not like the entire world is going to be thrust into a major lockdown blocking all of us from seeing, smelling, or touching another human being for months, if not years, depending on your moral compass.
It's right in the middle here, and it looks like that's where all the action is.
Within moments of this Costco opening, a sea of shoppers came back to this area where the water and paper goods are stored.
Imagine there's no heaven.
Because man,
where the party's at? Where the party?
Easter Bunny has a big job to do this year. Maybe there's something you can do to help.
If that happened, we'd be Now look, if you're anything like me, then that period of time took an incredible toll on you. Everything was shut down, everyone seemed to hate each other, celebrities started singing, and this became every work meeting ever. Nothing on my end? Now I don't know what it was like for you guys, but here in Canada, we were starting to lose our freaking minds. Dogs were banned from being walked at night. The word takeout was in the process of being banned, and as soon as the clock hit 4:03, sunlight was banned across the entire country. Oh, look how beautiful. But there was one thing that kept a lot of us sane. Frickin' video games, man. See, what started as a bug quickly turned to a movement. didn't matter if you were playing Among Us, Minecraft, an MLM, Human Fall Flat, the Nicki Minaj game, or even Fortnite.
Fortnite. This is the video game Fortnite, right?
Your Grubhub is here?
I don't know, I really have faith in myself.
Because thanks to this little bug, you could suddenly play from a PC, a PlayStation, a Switch, or if you're anything like my good buddy Cameron, an OG VCR Xbox One that may or may not be limiting the friend group to the 3 games that still support the 11-year-old console.
Yeah. Skype in call.
See, with crossplay back, the world was able to play together during a time when that very same world seemed to need it the most. Alright, I don't know how anyone can f this up. But seriously, can we all just comment, Cameron, it's time to upgrade? Because my friend group would really appreciate that. Now look, I know hating Fortnite is considered cool these days, and believe me, I get why. It basically popularized battle passes now plaguing every single online video game,
featuring over 100 rewards.
It normalized having every cartoon character ever as a playable character, and somehow trained toddlers to be able to do this. I'm not a fan. But on September 16th, 2017, Fortnite and the massive talent behind Epic Games made video game history.
2 years ago, you could not be an Xbox player and play with players on PlayStation or Nintendo Switch. And over the past few years, Sony and Microsoft, Nintendo, and all of these console platforms have opened up and become very pro-developer and pro-consumer in the way they enable every game to connect all of their users everywhere.
And that seems like a pretty cool thing, don't you think? But what happens if you're just one guy with a dream to break into video games? Well, you're going to want to click this video next to see how a Lithuanian man risked everything he had and somehow created one of the most popular games in the world. As always, thank you so much for watching. And remember, if crossplay can come back stronger, so can you. Unless you're Rat Boy. I swear to God, Rat Boy, I'm going to find you. It's just a matter of time, okay? You better run.